Alright, YouTube, it's time to talk about Steven Crowder and his showing up there for Cenk's little panel. Of course, Cenk from the Young Turks. Anna Kasparian was not there at the time, regrettably. I've got to weigh in on what I see here because it's twofold. On the first hand, I'll say, him showing up and imitating Cenk and raising hell was extremely funny. I thought it was hilarious myself when I watched it. But at the same time, I'm not sure that's the greatest strategy when your goal is to denigrate the Young Turks by pointing out the excesses of Cenk Uygur, however the hell you pronounce his name. I'm not sure that that's actually a good operative strategy. I'm pretty sure what ends up happening. The people in the crowd, of course, it's not the main audience. There were like, I think, 30, maybe 40 people there tops. They're obviously core fans of the Young Turks or they wouldn't be there, so their opinion probably doesn't really count for much. The online audience, though, that they collectively are targeting, that are looking for news and analysis and comedy, honestly, collectively on social media, as the old guard media continues to wither and die on the vine like rotting grapes, people like Crowder, groups like the Young Turks, admittedly, are vying and competing for that same time, that same audience attention span. It's the same one that I compete for myself. It's the same one that many others compete for, with or without an actual sort of journalistic organization attached to them. But when you show up at somebody else's rally and you make fun of them, now is it superior to like throwing rocks and burning cars and stuff like the left tends to do when they crash a right-wing rally? Yeah, obviously, but people are still going to perceive that as being an asshole. It may be funny, it may be very funny to me, but I don't see so much of a problem with that sort of disruption. It's temporary, it's not causing violence. It's not really, it's just a mild inconvenience for the people hosting the panel. But a lot of people will see that and say, well, on the one hand, maybe justified because Cenk is an idiot. But on the other hand, they'll say, but this person showing up just with this sole goal of crashing a panel that's only got like 30 people in the audience, what exactly is the point? Now, of course, one of Crowder's people was there to record the whole thing, and then took one last parting shot at Cenk before leaving as well. And that was funny too. The goal was to get it in order to put it online, but when Cenk sits there and says, "Oh well, he rides my dick for views, for money," the problem is that what the actions that you've just undertaken, whether or not his central claim is true, at least situationally, according to what Crowder was doing when he shows up here and says, "Oh yeah, I'm Cenk and Armenian genocide and stuff like that," it actually lends weight to what Cenk himself is saying. Now, the Young Turks are a weird organization. They make inaccurate predictions. Cenk does go off occasionally and look foolish when he does. Their fan base is rather large, but its overall growth over time has slowed to some degree. Alex Jones will probably surpass them at some point, honestly. Therefore, it's obvious that their model isn't working as well as it could. Their model is less efficient than some other people that are online supplying analysis, supplying news or journalism or whatever they happen to be doing. It makes more sense to mock him from afar when he goes off on his own unperturbed, because he has a penchant for doing that anyway. He gets there, the Young Turks are broadcasting. Every once in a while, he says something screwy that even in some cases will piss off their own fans. Or he does something that's, off the wall. And then you can make fun of that. You can satirize it, and it's very funny. Your fans find it amusing. His fans probably are mildly annoyed at what Cenk's doing. But when you show up, especially when you've made a penchant for satirizing the Young Turks, you show up at their panel and just start disrupting them. It may be very funny to some people, but it's not funny to anyone that watches the Young Turks. It actually solidifies them more in their views that, if all of these evil right-wingers are showing up to disrupt this panel, then I need to hear what Cenk has to say because it's obvious he's hitting a chord. when you encounter resistance, the natural tendency of those witnessing that resistance is to see that and assume that the other person that you're resisting, that you're trolling, that you're disrupting, has something more important to say. Whereas, look at the number of people that were actually here. It would have been easier to just send somebody in to document it, hope that Cenk does or says something that is off the wall and report on it, and if he doesn't, then just to ignore the whole issue. It's a very, very small audience. It's minuscule, it's meaningless, and so why bother to go to disrupt it? Now, maybe he was just having a jolly at this. Maybe it was just his idea of, wow, this is going to be so funny. And he sits, and it was. It was funny to see him imitate him, and Cenk, of course, get rather annoyed with the whole situation. It was amusing, but many people watching that will not respond well to the idea of this type of provocation. It's a poor strategy. One, in other words, one that leads to funny moments without actually really helping your side long term. In fact, it helps Cenk and the Young Turks because it's giving them free exposure, and it's making this other dude, Steven Crowder, look like he's the one that's off the wall. Within that situation, he's the one that's acting like he's coked up. Usually, Cenk on his own will act that way. He will act off the wall from time to time. It's just the way that he does business. When he does so, sometimes it becomes major laughs for everyone across the internet. It's better to allow him to speak his mind. He does have the right to do that, especially at one of his own panels. And when he says dumb stuff, then you can report on it. Then you can have your laughs. That's about all.